Hey, welcome back to the VHS Ate My Brain podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Haunt. I'm the author of a book called VHS Ate My Brain and its sequel, VHS Ate My Brain 2 The Revenge. And I'm the originator of the column, the VHS Ate My Brain column in Scream Horror Magazine. I've written lots of other things other than those, but that's the stuff that people know about the most. That's why I talk about tapes a lot. Plus, I love them dearly. I have a great deal of fondness for the VHS culture around the world. Just done a video on that this week on the things I've found online to do with VHS culture, and it still gets mentioned every week. There is always something new to find out about this, strange, obsolete, old format. It is still having effects on people's lives even now, and that's quite wonderful. Now, this episode is going to be a little bit more thoughtful, a little bit more existential, and I'm putting that down possibly to the beer that's with me at the moment. I have had some life changes recently, and it has been kind of difficult coming to terms with everything and getting used to everything again. However, I've been meeting some amazing people lately. I went over to Dublin with my best friend over last Saturday for what is referred to as an extreme day trip. And by extreme day trip, bloody hell, you weren't kidding. This was 26 hours long. So we set off at 3 in the morning to East Midlands Airport. Went over to Dublin. The hotel was next to the airport, so it didn't take us long to get there at all. That was great. Explored Dublin, did all the sightseeing, the restaurants, the bars, museums, activities throughout the place, went shopping, did all the stuff like that. Came back for a nap because we were, well, to be frank, wankered by 1 p.m. That's what you do in Dublin, I think. I had a nap in the hotel, and then went out for the evening as well and did a 5-hour guided pub crawl in the evening, which was awesome. That was so fun. Met a load of people from around the world. Now, the reason I talk about this is because that, of course, you talk about what you do, and I mentioned the writing, and people ask what I write about, and I said primarily I'm known for these books on cult films and VHS tapes. And everyone you mention that to, everyone I speak to about that, instantly tells me their story, and I love that. There is something wonderful about hearing the same story from endless different people, no matter the walk of life, the background or where they're from. People of a certain age have a great memory of going to the video shop with parents, with grandparents, with loved ones, with brothers and sisters, with friends, having all these great times. And it's really heartening to know that that shared experience is so widespread and looked back on with such fondness. Even if a lot of the time you didn't get the movie that you wanted, you had to put up with what your parents would let you see, or what your sister or your brother or your friends ganged up on you for and got instead of what you wanted. But that is so cool to know that this story has been shared by so many people and is still thought about to this day, and is still really, really appreciated. And I wonder what people may think of those films now, even if you watch something terrible back in the day, as many of us did, many of us did. A lot of those you will look back on fondly. I've seen so many absolute junk B-movies and sequels and knockoffs and cash-ins and just cheap rush jobs, but I really liked them because to me they were special because they got a release, so there must be something amazing about them. And this is shared all over the place. I met people on that trip to Dublin. I met people from Ireland, of course, who were lovely. I met people from the Netherlands, Germany, British Columbia, Sweden, all over the place. And whenever it came up, it just a little glow came over these people. I'm like, yeah, we get that. That sounds really cool. And I'm really pleased about that. And it was really heartening to see this community still there, and memories of it still so vibrant for people. That was really pleasant, and I really, really enjoyed that. So yeah, explaining the books to new friends, and everyone has that story, and that is quite wonderful. And I really appreciate that. I still get messages from around the world about the books. I get the messages on my YouTube videos over on the Planet Hex channel, where I do a lot of VHS themed stuff. And there is something positive about it. And isn't that marvelous that in an age where so many people really dislike each other for differences of opinion, political affiliations, people's gender or orientation seem to trigger a lot of people. But there's this weird thing where we all kind of come together and that was cool. That was a cool thing. That was a good part of our history. And that's something that's a little funny as well, because there were times where I like horror movies. I like quite nasty movies. During the video nasties during the video nasties controversy, people would lose their lives, not their lives, their livelihoods, if they were selling these tapes or renting these tapes out to people. And that's an astounding thought, since a lot of these films are now available entirely uncut, and several of them, actually quite a few of them, have been reclassified to just 15s. So these things that were seen as the downfall of society are now just kind of cast aside. So yeah, whatever. If you look at Nightmare on Elm Street, not one of the video nasties, but just an example, the BBFC have knocked that down to a 15. And that would be completely unheard of when I was of the right age, when I was discovering all these things, and when I was absolutely in love with the Freddy movies and watching them at a far too young an age. To think that one day it would be reclassified as a 15, that's quite a strange thought. Because there was such a furore. I mean, in the States, and to a certain extent the UK, there was the Satanic Panic in the 80s, where people were just worried about anything vaguely evil-looking, destroying our youth. Turns out it wasn't that destroyed our youth. No, I'm not going any deeper into that. But it is wonderful to think that these things are bringing people together. We're able to bring people together. And if I've done that a little bit through these books and through the podcast and through the VHS episodes of my Planet Hex channel, that sort of thing, then that's something I'm really grateful for and really glad I've done. This is one part of my life. Do you know, all the stuff about VHS tapes and this scene and taking part in it and talking to people and writing about it in magazines and doing the books and things like that. This is one aspect of my life that I have zero regrets about. I didn't expect it to go this far. As I've mentioned previously on various things, when I first wrote the original version of VHS Ate My Brain, I did it for myself. I figured no one would listen, no one would want to read it. Turns out a lot of people want to read it from all over the globe, and that was such an eye-opener, and what an experience it's been. So thank you. So there'll be more volumes of that anyway. As I've mentioned, those are underway at the moment. So look out for news on those arriving soon. What else have I been doing? I have been exploring Tubi. Now, I'm taking a break from buying VHS tapes this month, as the trip to Dublin was so hilariously expensive that I am quite in shock at the amount I spent. So yeah, I'm having a lighter month this month. So I've been exploring the depths of Tubi, and my friend, I am yet to discover how deep those depths will go. Oh my god, that app is full of some nonsense. But I am absolutely loving it. From new movies and old movies, right now it's like black and white B movies, up to very current horror movies and sci-fi movies, that sort of thing. There is a lot on there to enjoy. But I keep finding things that I had never heard of. One example I would mention is Princess Warrior. Now, if I see something that's Warrior Princess the other way around and I'm interested, I was a big Xena fan, so sorry, not ashamed, loved it, great show. Hated Hercules though. Hercules was crap, but loved Xena all the time. So I spotted Princess Warrior, which had kind of warrior ladies with knockoff lightsabers doing battle over a very badly rendered sci-fi background with an even poorer font choice. It looked absolute rubbish, which is exactly why it had to go on my watch list and be viewed. And I was mesmerised by this absolute heap of nonsense. I loved it. I absolutely adored that film. It starts off in kind of a pseudo Star Wars setting with very flimsy, very cheap sets, with various space ladies spouting space nonsense and not wearing a great deal, which is great for viewing late at night, especially if you've had a few, and if you've had a terrible, terrible few months. It was a bit of it. It was just entertaining, and I think it was written possibly by the sound of it, it was written after they filmed it. It was terrible. The script was terrible. The performances were terrible. The story was ridiculous. It's just incredible that it got completed, and that just thrills me. That excites me and delights me that this rubbish can be completed and made. And I found it really entertaining. I fully take on board. It was rubbish, but stuff like that, I can still get a lot of entertainment value out. Basically, just giving you a bit of the premise, it should tell you the sort of lowbrow feel of this. Two space princesses escape the clutches of their evil queen through a dimensional portal, and they land in a wet t-shirt competition. You know, you couldn't make this stuff up. Evidently, they couldn't either, because it's nonsensical and very silly, and goes on a bit too long. It needed to be about 20 minutes shorter, but then it wouldn't have been feature length, really. But that was absolutely crazy. What else have I found on there? Oh, I found Alice, Sweet Alice on there, which is one of the grindcore era movies that I've heard a lot about. I think I've seen it before, but it's many, many, many years ago. But I rewatched Alice, Sweet Alice, and that has a surprisingly good feel to it. I've talked about this on this week's video over on the Planet Hex channel. It's surprisingly well made for a Grindhouse budget and Grindhouse era movie. There's some talent to it. There's some proper cinematography. There's some nice plotting. There's some pacing. There's some interesting touches to the direction and the locations. It's a pretty solid movie. How you trying to guess who the killer is that is dressed as Alice, the young girl of the title. That was a lot of fun. I followed that by rewatching Martial Law with Cynthia Rothrock in it. I can't resist Cynthia Rothrock movies. I know they are not to everyone's taste, but they were a mainstay of my video rental era. I would always rent videos if they had Cynthia Rothrock in them, and I would collect them. I would buy all the ones I could find up on budget labels, even though I would often discover they were really badly dubbed movies from her Hong Kong era, or I'd get something like Triple Cross or 24 Hours to Midnight, where she's in it for the opening minute and the closing minute, and then for the rest of the movie she's played by someone else in a mask. And they don't even try and cover up that it's not even anyone that looks anything like Cynthia for the rest of the movie. But I watch this stuff and I enjoy it thoroughly. I did watch a couple of newer ones. Ash was a really good one, which is a sci-fi horror movie. But what impressed me about this was that it looks stunning. It looks really, really good. And it was made for a budget of only $500,000, and that's kind of unheard of in this day and age for something that good to be made for so little. So Elsa Gonzalez and Aaron Paul in the leads, largely pretty much just them in it for most of the movie, but it is a crazy, tense, horror-tinged sci-fi movie, which I thoroughly recommend. I saw it on Prime. I rewatched Prince of Darkness. I got a edition of Prince of Darkness on Blu-ray, which I've not seen in ages since the video rental era. That one's come down to a 15. I remember that being an 18 when I first rented it. That is now a 15. I got that on Blu-ray, and not only that, I got the edition with the cover by Matt Ferguson. Oh, Matt. I need to meet up with Matt. It's been so long. So for those of you who don't know, I used to work with Matt briefly in a comic store, and he worked in a comic book store with me, and many other strange reprobates who went on to do TV and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, I love seeing that he's so popular and his work is just been getting so much better every year. He just keeps getting better and better. So I got this the Blu-ray of Prince of Darkness. It's not an ideal print. I guess that's because of the original negatives may not have been in the best state, but the print is okay. But on a 4K TV, you can see that it's not really up to scratch. I think it's a 3K restoration. It's not 4K, but it's up there. But being reminded of how effective that film was, Donald Pleasence's, barely contained fear and worry about what's going on. The soundtrack by director John Carpenter, there is a lot about that film that it just bleeds atmosphere. The scenes of the worms on the windows, the scenes of the hobos, led by Alice Cooper, becoming incredibly sinister and increasingly dangerous until they do pounce on people. And the eventual denouement, I won't go into that. I'm not going to spoil anything here if I can help it. It's just a very, very satisfying movie and well worth a rewatch. It has bags of atmosphere, and while the equipment that the physicians that are investigating the gaseous mass inside the chamber that they're investigating, while the equipment is very dated now, it has a really cool feel about it. It has paranormal activity, conjuring, that sort of feel to it too, and that was really nice to revisit. But I do remember getting that on big box and just the original cover with the really spooky artwork on it. It spoke to me back in the day. I like stuff that has a religious aspect to it. I'm not religious in any way myself, but I do enjoy things like Prince of Darkness, The Exorcist, of course, or controversial choice because of the director, but The Sentinel. I'm a big fan of The Sentinel because it has this really creepy atmosphere. I don't really like it that they used people with real physical differences in it to portray the denizens of hell, but there is something about that film that hooks me every time, and I can't get enough of it. That sort of atmosphere, you can't really... It's something I think is lacking in many modern horror movies, is that creepy atmosphere. There's too many stabs of audio, there's too many jump scares, and fake outs and things like that. But it's interesting to see that film really held up. So Prince of Darkness really, really does hold up. But yes, I have been browsing Tubi a lot, and also Foursome and FilmRise and all the really bad ones. All the really cheap, weird, obscure free film services that you can get on a Fire Stick, or in my case, a Fire TV. The stuff you can find on there is amazing. On Tubi, actually, I've noticed that there's a lot of full moon movies on there that normally you would have to get the subscription to the Full Moon app to view. There's like Bad Channels is on there. I love Bad Channels. Lots of classic full moon movies. And speaking of full moon movies, now there's an unintentional segue. I'm going to celebrate an unintentional segue by having a bit of beer. Thank you. My good friend Gareth Packham over on the Video Tasties channel, last night at the time of recording anyway, interviewed a brilliant standout star from a lot of B movies from back in the day, and he's now playing a character on 911 on TV, and it's Brian Thompson. It's in Cobra, X-Files, Buffy, lots more, but I mainly remember him for two roles. One as the guy that eats the moths and various other bugs in Fright Night Part 2, and as his spectacularly mulleted, hair extended, villainous wizard in Dr. Mordred, the Full Moon movie. And what I liked about the Full Moon movie is that it was intended to be a Doctor Strange film, but the rights didn't work out. So instead of rewriting it and getting rid of all the stuff they'd already done for it, they just changed it to Doctor Mordred, and it's no worse for it. It's a fun, magic themed, horror tinged fantasy movie, and I do think that it's one that more people should see, even though, yeah, it doesn't hold up well in terms of effects or how it's been shot these days. I think expectations will have changed a lot in terms of those, but it is a really great watch nonetheless. So I got onto the stream, I went into the chat there, and I got a couple of questions answered from Brian, which I was really pleased about. One was confirming that the hair in Dr. Mordred was extensions, and the other, I'd asked him what did the fake moth taste like when he was eating bugs in Fright Night Part 2, to which he answered, oh, they weren't fake. Like, oh my god. They had a bug wrangler who turned up to set in a VW bug. Of course he did, and helped him get used to apparently eating insects. So that I'm really delighted by. I was really pleased to find out that that was real. Slightly disgusted as well, but hey, that's what we do. But with all these old movies like that are available on these streaming apps and on Blu-ray and are widely available to the public now, I do have to wonder what people may think about that era. If you weren't around when things like Dr. Mordred or The Creeps or, I don't know, Seed People were coming out, or Shadow Zone, if you weren't around then, if you weren't renting movies then and just renting anything, knockoff cyborg movies, Cyber Tracker, Cyborg Cop, that sort of thing, all those martial arts movies, I wonder if what it's like for a modern audience that's never seen these things before, when you do find these things on these streaming apps, if you put them on and think, what the hell were people thinking? You know, get your reaction to watching. Imagine watching, especially with the remake coming out, Toxic Avenger. Rewatching the original Toxic Avenger, you have to have a certain sense of humour, which I'm not sure is that prevalent right now. But of course, the remake's coming out with Peter Dinklage in it, and I'm so pleased that that's coming out because it looks amazing and ridiculously over the top, and that's exactly what I want from a trauma-related movie. But watching the original Toxic Avenger or Sergeant Kabuki Man or anything of that particular era, for a modern audience, it's going to confuse a lot of people. The attitudes are very different. How people are portrayed is very different. And I don't think that a lot of people will realise that everyone knew they were in on the joke. It was all part of the joke. It was all part of the thing they were doing. They were having a blast doing it. Why not? I mean, why not? Gotta be enjoying that. But I do have to wonder. So, what's going on with the books? The books continue at a pace. Not always the quickest pace at the moment, but there will be this year the omnibus of VHS Ate My Brain 1 and 2 as a digital book. I don't think I'll do a paperback omnibus, but I've never released the revised edition of VHS Ate My Brain or the sequel on Kindle. So I'm going to do a Kindle omnibus of those two. I could do them separate, but I don't want to rip people off. You're going to get both in one file. In one purchase, you'll get both of those books, the revised edition of VHS Ate My Brain and the latest sequel in one. So there'll be a digital omnibus of that. And there will be a new volume of VHS Ate My Brain, as previously mentioned on other episodes, that it's not VHS Ate My Brain 3. Those will be slightly shorter, themed books under the umbrella name of VHS Ate My Brain. So that'll be announced soon. The cover will be released soon. And yeah, I don't have a date for that one yet, but it will be out this year, as well as a collection of short fiction, just stuff that I'd collected over the years that I'd submitted places, had published in places, some that haven't had published in places, so that's exclusive, that will go into a Kindle fiction collection. And if it's long enough, I might do a paperback of that, but we shall have to find out. But yes, there's new stuff coming. Please do like and subscribe over on my Planet Hex channel. I love doing those things for you. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe to this VHS Ate My Brain podcast. Sometimes I'm sober on these episodes, but, you know, why not? What am I saying? Why not? Don't really know what I'm saying. What I will say is Dublin is really expensive, but by God, it's a wonderful place full of wonderful people. I didn't see any retro movie stuff around there, but I did visit the Irish Rock and Roll Museum, the history of Irish rock music. Saw guitars owned by Rory Gallagher and Phil Lynott. I played in U2's. I played guitar, started a jam session in U2's old rehearsal room. It was a really great day. It was a really great day, but those stories, going back to the stories that people shared with me when I would talk about the books, it was nice to see that is sort of a universally understood language wherever you are, that these things were special, that these places were special, and they hold a great special place in people's hearts. Much like everyone listening to this and reading the books. Thank you ever so much. I'm Andrew Horn. I'll catch you on the next episode of VHS Ate My Brain.